Clark, come here, boy. Let me talk to you for a minute. So, Ryan Clark is out here, spreading things again. You know how he likes to do. This time, he's talking about generational talents, and he's got his eyes set on three particular quarterbacks. These quarterbacks are Tom Brady, Sir Peyton Manning, and Sir Drew Brees. Now, for some reason, Ryan Clark doesn't think they're generational talents. He's saying it with his chest. I heard him say it 2 times. In fact, let's just play a snippet of what he had to say.
Few of them. I think there's less than what you think. I think John Elway was a generational talent. I think Patrick Mahomes is a generational talent. I don't think Tom Brady, I don't think Drew Brees, I don't think Peyton Manning are generational talents. I think Andrew Luck ended up being a generational talent. I don't think there's a ton of them out there.
So on first listen, you think, I know if you're anything like me, I was thinking to myself, like, this guy's got to be out of his mind. How dare he talk about Tom Brady and Peyton Manning like that, right? But when cooler heads prevail, you do have to think about it a little bit, and you have to wonder, does he have somewhat of a point? And so that's what we need to figure out on today's episode of Slapping or Capping. Is Ryan Clark continuously out of his mind, or honestly, sometimes he may have some pretty good points? So let's break this down. Let's get down to the bottom of it. Let's think about what he's saying. Give the brother about 2 to 3 seconds to at least let it marinate in your mind, and then we'll figure out whether or not he's slapping or he's capping.
Slapping or capping.
What it do? Welcome to the J-Boy Sports Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you don't love the content, you can still do those things because you could always help a brother out, and you know a brother would always help you out. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our fantastical content. Also, you want to make sure that you comment because I guarantee you I will reply. Ball is life. You know how we do around here. And lastly, hang on towards the end for some other great suggested videos that we know you will love. With that said, let's jump right into it. Slapping or capping. Welcome to the segment. It's sponsored by nobody. None of my segments are currently sponsored other than by the good old people in my back pockets, which are sometimes just my hands in my back pocket when I'm reaching for my wallet, I guess. I don't know. So, Ryan Clark. I gave you a little bit of a snippet of what he was talking about, and at first listen, I was like, man, what is this guy talking about now? Ryan Clark, I know I say certain people are the gifts that keep on giving, but Ryan Clark is definitely at the top of that list. And the funny thing about it is there's things Ryan Clark says where I'm just like, wow, like he almost has like an Obama type thing at first listen. But then when you listen a little bit further, I do think he be taking certain things way too personal and way too far. You know, definitely when it comes to like color sometimes. I think he just takes it to another level. But honestly, the guy can speak very well. He seems to carry himself very well. I wish he would just lighten up on people that are not as melanated. Just a little bit, man. Just give him a little bit of a break. But overall, let's talk about what he said. And the first thing that you heard in that first clip is that he thinks that Peyton Manning and them, he believes that they are not generational talents. And I'm going to play the whole thing and let you listen to the whole thing. And let's start breaking it down. And we'll decide if he's slapping or capping.
Few of them. I think there's less than what you think. I think John Elway was a generational talent. I think Patrick Mahomes is a generational talent. I don't think Tom Brady, I don't think Drew Brees, I don't think Peyton Manning are generational talents. I think Andrew Luck ended up being a generational talent. I don't think there's a ton of them out there.
But first off, I think the generational talent conversation is a fun one, right? It's a fun one to have. And when you mention Manning, Brady, and Brees, if any of those three is going to be a generational talent, to me it's Peyton Manning. Right? Peyton Manning was the number 1 quarterback when he came out of high school. He was the surefire number 1 overall pick. He had a level of arm talent and understanding, anticipation based on the generation he was in, the era he was in that made him special. Hard work made Tom Brady special. A will to win, dedication. He changed who he was. When you go 199th overall, the talent piece of your generational talent piece is missing. But he's the greatest of all time. Drew Brees built himself into one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play this game. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. They've had generational careers, both individually and team success. But they are not generational talents to me in that. right? When you look at Brett Favre, 3 straight MVPs, the way he could throw a football, the physicality in which he played with. You even take a guy like John Elway, who was able to say, if I got to go to Baltimore, I'm going to go play baseball, right? That level of physical talent, the way he moved in the pocket, the way he threw the football, like those things make them different. And I think you even move forward, you go into other sports. Kobe Bryant is my favorite basketball player of all time. I think he had a generational career. I think his impact to the game, the way he worked, the focus he played with. He's not a generational talent because LeBron James is a generational talent. Like the chosen on his back wasn't because he wasn't God-gifted. It was because he was. And I think that is what I was trying to explain to people. Randy Moss, good in any era. Adrian Peterson, good in any era. Junior Seau, good in any era. It's players like that that say, hey, these are generational talents. And I'm going to say this. He didn't get to live long enough. Sean Taylor was different than we'd ever seen. There are tall people that want to play safety now because of that man. That's a generational talent, right? And Brian Dawkins, who is my personal own favorite safety, he's not. I used to watch him because I was like, man, some of this I might be able to do. Sean could do things I could not. And so when we say generational talent, it's a person that, or an athlete that has some things that can't be taught, that can absolutely change the game. And I'm going to say this, of my time, if we're talking about quarterbacks I played, the greatest talent, who I consider a generational talent, is Aaron Rodgers. Because when we played that Super Bowl, we were right so many times, and it didn't matter because of his talent level. Not his IQ, not his anticipation, not his studying, how talented he was.
All right, so that's Ryan Clark actually giving us his 2 cents on his generational talent take. And on first listen, again, you start sitting there to yourself, you're thinking, man, what is this guy talking about? Here we go. But honestly, I have to admit, he has a point, right? So he talks about if anybody between like Brees, Manning, and Brady is going to be the generational talent, it would be Peyton Manning. And I actually agree with that. I get what he's saying. Peyton Manning was highly touted like most of his football career. He struggled a little bit when he first came into the league, but then once he started, once he got it together and started cooking, I mean, he became the great Peyton Manning that we see today. Tom Brady was never really supposed to be anything special, but he worked his way into something special. And also, if you really pay attention to Drew Brees was okay when he was on the Chargers, right? He was on the Chargers, and he was an okay player. He was pretty good, but he really didn't take off until he got with, in my opinion, he didn't really take off until he got with Sean Payton and he won the Super Bowl. Before that, on the Chargers, I believe he still had the same people that Phillip Rivers had. I mean, ultimately, Phillip Rivers took over that spot, but before Phillip Rivers, it was Drew Brees, and I think he had hurt his shoulder, and I feel bad for him because now he talks about like he can't even move his arm right, but he was good, and he became really good on the Saints once he had Sean Payton. Their link up was a crazy connection. So he wasn't out here just slinging that thing from left to right. Pause. No, did he? From the jump. So to that extent, Ryan Clark has some truth there. Tom Brady, again, wasn't supposed to be anything like he was. He was like 7th pick. He mentioned 199th. Brady came in because basically Drew Bledsoe went down, and Brady came in and just did what they needed him to do to win a game, win a Super Bowl. And he just never looked back. They stuck with him, and he just kept getting better and better and better. So his work ethic, right? And so, again, I think Ryan Clark has a point there. And then he mentioned some people like Andrew Luck and some, Aaron Rodgers. And definitely at the exact end, he said Aaron Rodgers, we knew what he was going to do, but his talent was so immense that it didn't matter. So, okay. I get what he's saying when he's talking about generational talent. I understand that, right? Most of these people are somehow freaks of nature in some way, shape, or form. Other players that come to mind, I would say, he mentioned Adrian Peterson in football. He mentioned Kobe. He mentioned LeBron James, who, yes, I believe is a generational talent. He mentioned some other people too. He mentioned Sean Taylor, who was a bigger safety, and not just like strong. He was tall. He was pretty tall for a safety. They're not usually very tall players. Who else did he mention? I mean, you got to mention people like Reggie White. You got to mention Lawrence Taylor. Where you talk about freaks, Barry Sanders. They're what's his name? The guy that retired recently from the Rams. Aaron Donald is a freak. He's like 5'10", bro, playing defensive tackle, and nobody could touch him, and his strength is insane, right? So I do believe there's some freaks of nature. He mentioned Randy Moss is a freak. Terrell Owens is a freak. Was Jerry Rice a freak? I don't know. Was Jerry Rice generational? I wasn't alive when Jerry Rice came out, so I can't really. I'd have to find an OG that's more OG than me to speak on that. But I actually think Ryan Clark has somewhat of a point. Now, he mentioned Kobe Bryant and said he's my favorite player, but he's not a generational talent. And then that comes in where, like, players like Brady and Kobe. But I don't know. Kobe should have been highly touted coming out of high school. He just came out at a time when they didn't pick him like that. And he didn't start right away because they didn't let young players start, especially on the perimeter. So I don't know if Kobe. I can't really say Kobe wasn't a generational talent. I mean, what he was once he got a chance to play, he was a monster. So and based on the reports and what people were saying, people like Byron Scott, Brian Shaw had mentioned it. I think Derek Fisher mentioned it. They knew Kobe was a dog from day one. Nick Van Exel mentioned it. They knew Kobe was a dog from day one. He just didn't have an opportunity. So I don't know if I could say Kobe's not a generational talent. But I understand definitely what he's saying about Brady. But then again, I don't know. Because once he got the job, he never looked back. And so that's the thing. Maybe they don't come in. There's a part of me that feels like Ryan Clark is not factoring in the fact that maybe some of these guys maybe were generational talents that just didn't get the same opportunity. Excuse me. But, I mean, if you're looking at the draft picks, Brady was drafted like 199th. Like, I mean, that doesn't scream generational. So I get his point there. I don't know where Brees was drafted. I believe, like you said, Peyton Manning was drafted number 1. Andrew Luck was drafted high. But I guess it also makes you beg the question, is it more important to be to be a generational talent or hungry and a student of the game? Because let's say he said his favorite player again in basketball was Kobe. Kobe wasn't drafted number 1, but he was a student of the game and had a hunger for the game. And then he became like the greatest, him and people like Mike. Now, Mike was a generational talent, like off the rip. Like, he came in swinging. I mean, that's obvious. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal, these are guys that came in swinging. But I would argue Kobe maybe was too. They just didn't give him the same opportunity, the same chance. He also mentioned Brian Dawkins. I didn't like that. Don't take shots at my guy Doc. Brian Dawkins is arguably my favorite football player of all time. And I mean, he would knock the taste out of your mouth, man. He German suplexed the dude like he was Kurt Angle or Brock Lesnar in the middle of the game, man. Like he was jumping over the line of scrimmage, jumping over people. Like he was a Wolverine, man. And somebody made a video where they were like, "Oh, thank you, Jesus!" Ha! Like it was like showing him hit people, and he would be like, "Hallelujah!" And it's actually pretty funny because he's like really. As far as I know, he's a big-time Christian, really into God. And he sure lets out all that anger he has for the devil on his opponents when he was playing. Thank you, Jesus. Sorry I gave you a concussion, that type of work. But I think I'm going to be honest here. I think he has a point. I think Ryan Clark has a point. He has a point. And I can't take that away from him. You know what I mean? I can't take it away from him. So with that said, I'm going to give Ryan Clark his just due. I'm going to let that boy breathe. And I'm going to be honest. I think he's slapping. I think he's slapping on this. I think he's definitely slapping. he has a case for his point. You know, generational talents could do some freaky things. The Patrick Mahomes, the Aaron Rodgers. You know, they kind of come in right away, you know, showing you a lot of this talent. And then there's the guys that maybe take a little bit more time, you know, to develop and become great. You know what I mean? Maybe there's those guys. So you can't be mad at that. You know what I mean? You can't be mad at that. So I'm going to give it to Ryan Clark, and I'm going to say he's slapping. So that is going to be the end of our show. Let's hit that outro. On your way out, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Please make sure you hit that notification bell. Please make sure you comment, because guess what? Ball is life, and I guarantee you I will respond. And please hang on towards the end of this video for some other suggested videos that we know you will love. I'm very thankful for you listening. I'm very thankful that you lasted this long. Very appreciative, very humble. Much love.
That somehow